publicly slurp Donald Trump on print, on air, on radio, online. The second is one thing he don't like. He hits you with a law. A whole lawsuit. How you like them apples? How you like them apples? That's like the one friend who you've been holding down. And then hey man, can you pick me up? I can't even do it. I got to get my daughter. You don't never support me, man. You never there for me. Bruh, you lived with me all throughout your 20s and your 30s. Now, because I can't pick you up one time, I'm not a good friend. That's Donald Trump. Shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled.
I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May.
Now, I know what some of you guys are going to say. Reese, you came from the comedy world. You're just going to defend comedians no matter what. And that is not true. I have never found Senator Kennedy funny, not a day in my life.
Do you hate cops just because they're cops? The next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. Just from a political standpoint, you never interfere with your enemy when he's kicking his own ass. God created the world, but everything else is made in China.
What's that? Oh, that's not a bit he's doing? He's a real senator. Even with that put on accent? Wow. Who knew? All right, how about this? I never found Terrence Williams funny a day in my life.
Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy.
Except for that whole extended Uncle Ben impersonation that he's been doing the last couple of years. He is very committed to that.
Let me fix my bow tie. We at the White House? We back in here. We waiting on President Donald J. Trump. Yeah. I look so good in the red hat.
Colbert's cancellation is a dark warning. CBS's decision marks a dangerous new stage for the culture at large. On Thursday, Stephen Colbert, the beloved sharp-tongued comedian and host of The Late Show, announced that CBS was canceling the legendary franchise. This is all just going away, Colbert told the audience as they responded with a wave of gasps and jeers. Online, the news was met with a similar blend of shock and anger. The move to cancel one of television's last remaining crown jewels of broadcast programming came just days after Colbert publicly criticized CBS's corporate owner, Paramount, for agreeing to pay President Trump $16 million to settle an outrageous $20 billion lawsuit against the company. $20 billion? Good Lord, that's a lot of money. Trump has now long claimed that 60 Minutes producers unfairly edited their interview with then presidential nominee Kamala Harris, a complaint widely viewed by legal and media experts as completely baseless. The agreement was the latest in a series of bootlicking moves by Paramount, and its chairwoman, Sherry Redstone, desperately tries to sell the company to Skydance Media, a deal that requires federal approval. Now, let's just imagine for a moment a world in which it was fodder for a lawsuit to selectively edit an interview to make a presidential candidate look competent. Imagine the amount of lawsuits that would hit Fox News's desk tomorrow. Imagine just how difficult it would be for Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham to make it to the studio if you were subject to a lawsuit by editing an interview to make a candidate look smarter than they are. That's crazy.
My question is, with all this extra revenue we're going to be bringing into the country, so do you believe at some point in time we could find a way, once the country's back on its feet and getting enough revenue and paid off our debt, do you think it's possible to find a way to eliminate federal taxes?
There is a way.
And how do you feel about it?
In the old days, when we were a smart country, in the 1890s and all, this is when the country was relatively the richest it ever was.
Good question, interesting answer, but actually that attendee had to ask the question 4 times and get Trump to answer. And Fox stitched it together over the course of 7 minutes to create the illusion of one clear answer. Participants had to keep following up when Trump would meander and ramble. Now, this is an example of what some Trump critics call sane washing, the press sometimes cleaning up Trump's speech to make him sound more sane. I would call it an example instead of normalizing, and it's an example of normalizing Trump to fit him into a TV time slot. Sometimes when that happens, you end up cutting out a lot of his false claims and rambling.
If that sounds like the groundwork for bribery, Colbert agrees. In his opening monologue on Monday, the host called the settlement a big fat bribe. CBS has since claimed that Colbert's cancellation is, quote, purely financial, even though The Late Show currently clocks in as the highest rated show on late night. Now, here's the thing, CBS, Paramount, however you prefer, Sherry, however you want me to refer to you. If you wanted me to believe that it was actually a financial decision, you might not want to do it immediately after he criticizes your upcoming merger. That looks hot. That looks hot. You might want to give it a little bit of time. You know what I mean? Kind of like the CEO of Astronomer trying to go back to work. Give it some time. Take a break. You don't really want to dive back in. You moving like he's got caught on a jumbotron and just went immediately home. Give us some time. It would look better. It would look better if you wanted me to actually believe the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
That man was riding high at the Coldplay show. Now he's by himself with no job at a motel off of the highway talking about in my place, and I am all yellow. There's little to no doubt that the finances surrounding late night production are probably not great. TV, particularly shows that require original writing and a marquee host, is an expensive undertaking, but the details of what led to the decision to sack Colbert are certain to expose an extraordinary level of eagerness by Paramount's top brass to grovel at the feet of this president as he targets his perceived enemies, the nation's top schools, law firms, and so forth, with colossal funding threats, lawsuits, and beyond. Remember that Redstone, daughter of Paramount founder Sumner Redstone, reportedly saw nothing wrong with instructing CBS leaders to shelve negative stories about Trump until after the Skydance merger was officially sealed. And it could get worse if the mega merger goes ahead. A friend and ally of the president, the billionaire Larry Ellison, could wield huge influence over the CBS News division, as well as programs ranging from South Park to Star Trek. The Late Show is sure to be seen by some as an example of obeying in advance. Now, there are so many people to address here, and I like to start with the comedy community, specifically the right-wingers, all the MAGA influencers and the manosphere bros who are bucking the system and being politically incorrect and saying what needs to be said. This your man's?
This is your man.
Yes.
Look at the screen.
That's mine.
Y'all are cool with this kind of censorship. Just so I'm clear, anything that doesn't stroke the current administration and the status quo, how shall we say, the deep state? We want to call it the deep state? Anything that doesn't stroke the administration gets silenced and canceled. So what exactly does that make y'all? Yeah, y'all, all your renegades and your crazy red hats, and I just call it like I see it. Yeah. How is that look under the light of what's happening with people like Stephen Colbert? Huh? And I'm not also going to pretend, right? Like this is the only place that's going on. I've also talked about TikTok and how, oh, God forbid it's a left-wing influencer at a protest. Well, certainly that should be age restricted now, shouldn't it? Yeah. We can't have the kids looking at that. And no, I award you no points for coming back and saying this is not what I voted for. Oh, so you went to the store, looked at the product, talked to the manager, tried it out, took it home for a couple of days, played with it, came back to the store, bought it. Then after you get mocked mercilessly on the street, decide to come back and say, this is not what I ordered. This is not what I intended to purchase. Everything that you're talking about was on the box. All while we was reading the box, seeing all the terms and conditions. Yeah, all last year, while we were being very clear about the terms and conditions, you agreed to all of that. Because CBS's coverage is all over the map, or at least it used to be. We'll see if that continues, if this merger doesn't go through, but it's all sorts of angles all about Stephen Colbert, and I needed some help, so that's why it was the perfect time to call on the sponsor of today's video, Ground News, because the most discouraging thing for me whenever there's breaking news or I'm researching a story is having to sift through clickbait and misinformation. And that's not to mention the media conglomerates swallowing up local news outlets to push their agenda. Ground News will give you the total number of articles published on a specific story, but it will also give you the political bias for each source and story based on ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. Now let's see here. Stephen Colbert's Late Show is canceled by CBS and will end in May 2026. Leaning right, 78. Leaning left, a whopping 148 sources. And these headlines are wild. Here you see a source leaning left saying CBS is treating Stephen Colbert's smart fans like fools by citing a financial decision. Meanwhile, on the right, you get 10 cringiest moments of Colbert's career as a dim mouthpiece. Oh, I almost forgot, you can also get the ownership information of a news source and find blind spots, stories that aren't getting as much coverage on either the left or the right. Check them out at ground.news/Reese and use my link to save 40% on the same Vantage plan I use for unlimited access to all of their features. Again, that's ground.news/Reese and use my link to save 40% on their Vantage plan. And I will see you there.
Some are wondering whether the move was at all politically motivated. Senator Elizabeth Warren tweeting, quote, "The deal looks like bribery. America deserves to know if his show is canceled for political reasons."
Jessica, if it was a political decision, they have enough plausible deniability to say that it was a financial one because of the current state of late night and comedy television. It's very expensive to produce something live every single day, and viewership and ratings for traditional television continue to drop. So even if this was political, CBS can get away with saying it wasn't. But I think what you're seeing from Senator Warren's tweet is that people just don't believe that this was a total financial decision, given the backdrop of what you just announced, the settlement with Donald Trump, all of the political pressure, et cetera.
He wants to make news organizations, CBS and Paramount, afraid. He wants to make ABC afraid, and he is succeeding. In the first term, there were at least some people to stand up to him. The Secretary Mattis's, the John Kelly's and others that had some stature who were willing to say, Mr. President, that's a stupid-ass idea.
I agree with the former congressman. It's under a lot of political pressure. And he's right that news companies are buckling. I mean, both ABC and CBS settled lawsuits that legal experts say they could have won in court, likely because out of fear of political retribution. Of course, we know that CBS was undergoing a merger with its parent company, and they felt as though they needed to settle that lawsuit in order to get regulatory approval of that deal. We're also seeing the Trump-era FCC go after media companies for their DEI policies, which is not typically something that is really fallen within their jurisdiction and their priority list. And you're seeing media companies all changing their DEI policies in response. Telecom companies, too. It's worth noting that T-Mobile changed its DEI policies to get a few deals of its own approved. And so I think media companies feel this pressure. And the biggest concern, Jessica, is not necessarily that they're paying lawsuits. The biggest concern is that they feel like they have to self-censor themselves because they're afraid of what that means for retribution. And that's why I think you have people concerned about the canceling of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. It's a form of self-censoring in a way.
Now, while CNN, I appreciate that framing on television, how about this self-censorship online? Because this is how this was framed online. Inside CBS's agonizing decision to cancel Colbert's top-rated late-night show. From the outside, the idea made no sense at all. Why would a broadcast network cancel one of its best-known shows that ranks #1 in its time slot? But on the inside, there were several plausible answers to that question. While the Late Show host was on his usual midsummer vacations, CBS executives weighed the pros and cons of canceling the unique but unfortunately unprofitable show. The cons were obvious, as evidenced by the studio audience boos when Colbert announced a cancellation. However, the pros ultimately won out because, according to sources close to the network, The Late Show was losing money and there was no apparent path to turning around its financial position. And what are the chances they just happened to come to that agonizing impasse where they had to make a financial decision just as they're settling a 60 Minutes lawsuit and trying to get their merger approved? I guess that's just a coincidence. I guess it's just a coincidence. Now, I understand that corporations have rarely been accused of having their ear to the street. But let me tell you what's been going on out here on the street. Whether it has been the Black MAGAs, or whether it's been Latinos for Trump, or whether it has been the farmers or the veterans. What's the most? The electricians up in Maine. I just did that stuff. Look, there is no future in PickMe. There's no long-term PickMe strategy. Your whole self-censorship now, how does that look for your programming moving forward? Or moreover, how does that look for our perception of your programming moving forward? Because if you think that a MAGA audience is going to support all of you that are self-censoring yourselves, I would love to see those finances. Oh yeah, I would love to see those numbers because that's pretty much how I'm looking at you from now on. Larry Ellison, friend of the president, head of Scott, yeah, that's pretty much how I'm looking at it from this point forward. And speaking of a MAGA audience, here comes the New York Post with the ultimate FAFO. They didn't even have to wait a week to find out. We have it. I have never been grateful for the New York Post, but I am today because they gave us this. While FCC chair will continue to throttle Paramount Skydance merger despite Trump settlement. With the Trump CBS lawsuit out of the way, the $8 billion merger between the network's parent Paramount and independent studio Skydance Media would seem to be a fait accompli, as if anything involving Donald Trump is that easy. On the Money has learned. True, the lawsuit filed by the then president-elect in December was seen as an impediment to getting regulators to approve the deal. And true that the lawsuit has been settled to Trump's liking. The deal should finally get the green light from FCC so everyone, including Paramount's cash-poor controlling shareholder Sherry Redstone, can get paid. I'm sorry, what was Sherry Redstone? Y'all called her Sherry Redstone cash poor? Is that what you say? She was cash poor? This is the same lady with her thumb on 60 Minutes and approved the settlement and all of that. Yep. And what did she get for embarrassing herself and her network for this pick me behavior? Cash poor. They called her cash poor. That's what pick me behavior will get you.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
But the FCC under Trump-nominated Chairman Brendan Carr won't make it easy on deal participants, namely Redstone and Skydance chief David Ellison. People with knowledge of the matter tell On the Money. Carr is a longtime telecom lawyer, regulator, and a conservative activist who believes the mainstream broadcast media have regularly flouted FCC public interest rules that govern local TV broadcast licensing. Pre-Trump, the FCC didn't give much thought to what constituted public interest, but Carr has, I am told. In his worldview, the First Amendment gives CBS or any local affiliate freedom to publish what it wants. What the First Amendment doesn't confer is FCC approval for local broadcast licenses, and one interpretation of public interest is that news content must not contain political bias. Pundits can bounce around opinions all they want, but when news shows tilt the scales during debates when a national election is on the line, as alleged in the 60 Minutes interview with a presidential candidate, the FCC can deny local broadcast licensing and upend mergers like Paramount's sale to Skydance. Here's what people close to the FCC tell me. Trump won some concessions out of CBS, the money, the PSAs, and going forward, CBS must release full transcripts of interviews so the public can see if it's deceptively editing news interviews. Carr will demand more, I'm told. Maybe an ombudsman to monitor news content. The Center for American Rights has spoken with the FCC and given some remedies, including moving some of CBS's operations out of the progressive ecosystem of New York, D.C., and Los Angeles. Carr also said he wants to preserve local news, where affiliate stations have been complaining that they're getting squeezed by CBS with ever higher fees to run content. CBS might be forced to cut the affiliates a break. Now, just so I'm clear, you mean to tell me they did all of this without assurances or making sure that this is the last of the hoops they have to jump through to get the settlement approved, dealing with this PR hit, and they still asking for more? Who could have seen that coming other than anybody that's ever tried to pick me for Trump? That's how this goes. Now, far be it for me to ever act pleased with the presence of the New York Post. As I've said many times before, it is literally foxnews.com. It is. It literally is all Rupert Murdoch. And speaking of which, this y'all, Trump sues Murdoch for $10 million over the Wall Street Journal story on Epstein birthday letter. President Trump followed through on his threat to sue media mogul Rupert Murdoch after his Wall Street Journal published an article saying that Trump sent his then friend, Jeffrey Epstein, a bawdy letter for Epstein's 50th birthday. Trump, who angrily denies writing the letter, is seeking damages of no less than $10 billion in the lawsuit alleging defamation. Named as defendants in the suit in federal court in the Southern District of Florida are Murdoch, his company News Corp, and his CEO, Robert Thompson, the journal's publisher, Dow Jones & Co., and two reporters who wrote the article published Thursday evening. Hey, Paramount, Skydance, I want you to see something. Yeah, I just want you to see something real quick. So you mean to tell me that this entire network owned by Rupert Murdoch and Fox News has just covered itself and slathered itself in Trump propaganda, that it is spraying with, what did Tucker Carlson say? A fire hose to knock home people's grandmas at home. That's what that is their function. That is what Rupert Murdoch has gifted to Donald Trump. And he hits you with a lawsuit the second he sees some coverage that doesn't flatter him. Not only and I hope the comedians are still paying attention. You know, the renegade, call it like I see it comedian. Nobody tells me what to, I'm an American. Yeah. All of this. And now the people had the nerve to call other people snowflakes. These are people, they literally slurped Donald Trump on print, on air, on radio, online, The second is one thing he don't like. He hit you with a law. A whole lawsuit. How you like them apples? How you like them apples? That's like the one friend who you've been holding down. And then this hey man, can you pick me up? I can't even do it. I got to get my daughter. You don't never support me, man. You never there for me. Bruh, you lived with me all throughout your 20s and your 30s. Now, because I can't pick you up one time, I'm not a good friend. That's Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump. Hey, Paramount, Skydance, I hope you're proud of what you signed up for. I hope you're proud of what you signed up for. Now, in speaking of this whole birthday letter, the bawdy birthday letter, I've never said bawdy so many times in my life. Speaking of this birthday letter, much was reported about all of the backroom conversations and dealings, everything that the White House went through to try and get this suppressed and not go out, which that's not hot. You know what I mean? That's not hot. Oh yeah. I'm just going to ignore how much work and effort was put into this not coming out. It is really funny how guilty one person can act. I had no idea one person could literally act this guilty. Unless it's Jesse Waters apologizing on air. Then it makes sense.
You might have heard that Governor Newsom sued Fox News. He didn't even ask for a correction first. He just sued. I invited him on the show to talk it out man to man, but he said no. So we'll have to do it without him. On Tuesday, June 10th, President Trump said this in connection with the LA riots. Listen.
Mr. President, when is the last time you spoke with Governor Newsom?
A day ago. Called him up to tell him, got to do a better job. He's doing a bad job.
Newsom responded on X, there was no call, not even a voicemail. We took that to mean there was no call, ever, period. Wouldn't you? President Trump sent Fox's John Roberts a screenshot showing that Trump and Newsom did have a call the previous Friday night, the first night of the riots. Based on what we knew at the time, I asked, why would Newsom lie and claim Trump never called him? Newsom says he meant there was no call, not even a voicemail, a day ago. And he was arguing about only when the call took place, not whether there was a call. Newsom thinks it would have been clear if we had played the full clip where President Trump said they spoke a day ago. Well, we left that out because it didn't seem relevant. We thought the dispute was about whether there had been a call at all, not when. We thought the governor was clear when he said without qualification that there was no call. Now Newsom's telling us what was in his head when he wrote the tweet. He didn't deceive anybody on purpose, so I'm sorry. He wasn't lying. He was just confusing and unclear. Next time, Governor, why don't you just say what you mean?
And how about one more? So Paramount and Skydance have gone through all of this nonsense. They wrote all them words to try and convince us this was a financial decision and had nothing to do with how Trump was being covered. And if you are Donald Trump and you obviously have the emotional makeup of a kindergartner and you flip out like this, the second is something that doesn't stroke you. When something does not flatter your ego, even if it's neutral, this is how you flip out. And you see that Stephen Colbert gets canceled, how should you react with the understanding that Paramount and Scott, they're trying to cover themselves by calling it a financial decision? How should you react? Now, keep in mind, you don't have to say nothing. You don't have to say nothing. What did he do?
President Trump himself posted that he, quote, absolutely loves that show hosted by Stephen Colbert, loves that it was canceled, I should say, while also hitting the show for its ratings.
This man couldn't even go along with the ruse. He couldn't even go. He exposed all of y'all. This is so hilarious. This reminds me of the Black MAGAs when they try and make excuses for blatant racism. And then you see like Yahtzees come out like, nah, we just racist. I don't know what they was talking about. We just racist. Like we just trying to make it white again. And I don't know what they got going. I don't know why they with it. I don't know who gave them a red hat. This reminds me of that. Here you are sitting here trying to give me all those words about how this wasn't what it appears to be, and he just gave up the whole game. And even worse, I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next. He has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show. He tried to put a target on the back of Jimmy Kimmel. Now, how exactly should Disney and ABC respond with the knowledge and understanding? Cause maybe they wanted to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. But now, how does it look if they do? This is the logic of the man who said, stop talking about Jeffrey in all caps. Like, this is who we dealing with. And this supposed to be your master negotiator. This the dude supposed to be this was not what you voted for? This was not what you voted for? Is that what it is? I'm mad I didn't make this a Who Raised Y'all. It should have been. It should have been a Who Raised Y'all to the right-wing comedians, certainly to Fox News and to Rupert Murdoch, to Sherry Redstone and to Paramount and to CBS. Certainly should have been a Who Raised Y'all. I'm ashamed of y'all, Paramount. I can't even give y'all credit for being Bobby Brown no more. Thank you so much for watching the video. Sending love out to all of the subscribers and members, and a special shout out to all those that came out to the 500K live celebration, as well as the Tuesday special viewers edition of the Tuesday Night Live.
You got on drawers. Like, what? You got on drawers. Chaps doesn't make it not drawers.
Now, I mentioned it was a special viewers edition because one thing I've noticed, we have so much talent in this community. So many people with so many amazing thoughts, so many people with so many amazing achievements, organizational skills. You guys are doing some incredible things. So if you're working on a project, you're working on something, you're working with a group you think might be of interest to the community, I would love to highlight you on my live. Every few weeks, I'm going to dedicate the live to that. So if you're interested in being highlighted, send me a note at admin@reesewaters.com. By the way, did you guys happen to get the last newsletter? Because, oh yeah, we are cooking over there. We talked all about what's going on with Essence Fest, as well as the Fox News meltdown on woke Superman. You know, some of those bylines by Clark Kent were kind of CRT. Now that I think about it, they were kind of CRT. And we ended on a positive with Ironheart finally being certified fresh. You know, like I was back in the 90s. Yeah, I was a wild boy. You know what I mean? I was a wild boy. We put out the newsletter every single week. If you want to sign up for it, you can do it over at my Patreon, patreon.com/Reese Waters. It's available in the deep water and troubled water tiers. We also have a free monthly newsletter that we put out. You sign up at the same place. You can get a free account and you can get our monthly newsletter right there.
Finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about.
Speaking of monthly, I need to pay that electricity bill. Yeah, it ain't no joke. Ever since we've been running this AC on high all winter, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Hopefully my wife don't see this.